Right. Hey, everybody. Sorry for being here a couple minutes late here. I'm going to get things started. Call's being recorded, so I am going to make this available after. I can send this to anyone who, upon request, if it's helpful. Yesterday we had the Missouri office hours, and that went really well. So we did some networking and some Q&A. So for about the first 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to cover a theme, and so there'll be some information. I'm going to cover resources and training. And I think this has kind of helped me discover and remember where some of the training resources can be found. So hopefully this will be helpful for others. I'm going to share my screen real quick and we'll get started. So after about the 15-minute mark, I will open it up to the group. And again, because this is office hours, this will be our second one. You're definitely welcome to ask questions if you have anything. If you want to ask for references or just want to throw any scenarios out for anyone else who's on the call, please feel free to take yourself off mute and chat it up with everybody and network with each other. So we'll continue these. This is the office hours for April. We did this in March. In March, I spent a little bit of time in the beginning talking about support services. So if that still pertains, if you weren't able to make that one, you do have any questions about support services, we talked about how to access your support services. We talked about kind of a escalation process in cases. So this month, I wanted to cover training services. So we're going to talk about the training services that you all have access to. So the training services portal is available for everyone. There's a free level. So you all have access. Your instructors and your students and users all have access to training services. I wanted to cover this because we made some changes to the training services portal in the last year. So if it's been some time since you've looked at training services, if you've looked at the portal, and that's pretty normal for many. There's been some schools that have actually turned off the training services portal because way back when or beyond a year ago, the training services portal was in a different platform. So when someone went to get fine training, they actually exited Canvas altogether. The new training services portal is hosted within an instance of Canvas. So the great benefit there is that your learners, instructors will actually see a course hosted in Canvas. So it's in the platform they're going to be using. And it's a little bit easier to track data now that it's within a Canvas instance. So the other cool thing about the portal, just to toss it in there, is our custom dev team or development team actually built the portal. So just to kind of show you some of the things they can do outside the box, that's also something to kind of keep in mind. So training services portal, if you've never been into the community to kind of see, we have some documentation on how to access it. In the portal itself, there's actually a module about how to use the training services portal. So there's some good information there. In the Canvas community or instructor community, you'll see that we have professional learning services. This will outline all training that's available, not just for Canvas, but also in other areas. We also have on-demand training. So this is something to kind of consider if it's been some time and maybe you've developed your own training programs internally for your faculty, for instructors. If you developed any kind of training for administrators to kind of be certified or to at least give them an idea of when they first are introduced to Canvas, then we also have on-demand courses that can be purchased. So this is kind of an a la carte where maybe you don't need a different level of training or you don't need to upgrade into services, but free service training services is great. But maybe you want to add a session or two. We have different training sessions across the board for different skill sets. So if you think of something that you might want training on or might want to offer training on, we probably have it built out already. And you can kind of purchase a la carte, so individually. Those individual sessions, that's our on-demand section. So the on-demands or the built-out training sessions, those also are offered with higher levels of training services. The baseline above free training is essentials. So some of you groups, some schools may have essentials. That's also, it's based on FTE. So the pricing is not crazy for training services. So if you're interested, let me know and I'm happy to kind of scope that out for you if you're just curious about what all the other different levels offer. The other thing I would also point out or call attention to, because it has high value, is the certified programs. So there's certified educator, CCE, Canvas certified educator, and there's also the newer one, which is the Canvas certified technical administrator. That CCTA program is really becomes very custom for your instance. It's really looking at configuration and how you use Canvas. If it's been some time since you've gone through implementation, That's a great use or a great certification to have, because it does bring you back to the beginning, and it kind of talks a little bit more about the why behind configuration. Why do you have things configured the way that you do? And if you're looking at making big changes or updates, then the CCTA is a great certification to have. That you carry, I believe, with you for 2 years, but we use our badging or credentials for that. So you actually have something that you take away, and it's a resume builder. I mean, just to be transparent, we have a lot of people that use it for their LinkedIn. They kind of promote it there. I've seen it now in email signatures, CCTA certified, because anyone that's a Canvas user would recognize what that certification is and kind of what it leads to. So in the learning services, there's a link to that, all the FAQ and all the information about the certified program as well. So to get into your training services portal, you would use, this is going to be linked into your help navigation. I'm going to go into my help navigation and look at the training services portal real quick. Just want to point out that what you'll see in my test instance here in a moment, this is just a demo site for me. When I go into the training portal, you're going to see more links now on this display than you normally would. The training services portal, one, if you don't see it in your instance, it's probably been turned off. In order to turn it back on, just let me know. As your customer success manager, I can link back to the training services portal. It is unique to your URL. So once I get it added back, the link that shows there, you can change the description, you can change the label for it, but when what it's linked to, it's going to recognize who I am. So if I'm an administrator or if I'm a student, then that's going to determine what I see once I hit the training portal. It's also based on your level of service. So free training, you're just going to see the courses that apply. If you have a higher level of training, or if you've purchased some of the a la carte, the on-demand, you'll also see those in your instance. So again, it's going to be familiar to anyone using it because it's within a Canvas instance. You're not going to see all the links here like you're seeing in mine. Again, because of my admin rights, I'm seeing a lot more than you would see. Also, as a learner, you're going to see, being everybody here, we're all higher education, so that's what you're going to see. I have a couple different filters you wouldn't necessarily need, K-12. But if you also have additional products, so if your instance is, if you're a studio user, if you're a credentials user, if you're an impact user, any of those Instructure products with Canvas, then you would have those training sessions available by default within your training services portal. If you don't, for some reason, let me know and I'll make sure that it gets turned on. Studio, for example, is one that's pretty common now. If you're using our video platform, integrates really well with Canvas. We have a Studio module that's a great kind of high-level overview of Studio and how to use it. And then once you're in there, you'll see we have a kind of a high-level how to use Canvas session. Again, the great thing is it's built within training services, or it's built within a Canvas instance, so they're actually seeing it. Just another example of the course and how it can be structured. We also use our assessments or new quizzes within these modules, so that's also another great kind of a training piece in itself. We have a training services portal walkthrough, and again, we have specific product training sessions. You'll see we've got tons and tons of on-demand or a la carte, and then those again are included in particular packages or specific packages if you step up from the free. So product trainings, again, if you have Studio, there's a 90-minute Canvas Studio session available. Impact, again, Canvas catalog. So all of those have modules. Many of you, if you came on board maybe years ago, when you first came on board and implemented, you might remember that we gave you a training session. It's growing with Canvas, or there might be a different name for it. That was a module that you could be used for training. The downside to that is you have to maintain that. So over time, content may be outdated, especially video links may be broken because there's not a way for us to update that module once it's in your instance. Some schools, they customize that, so they may put in some of their own personal information. They may put in specific information about the school or the instance. You can continue to do that. I definitely encourage you to do that. Just remember that the manual work still has to be done to update any of the Instructure or Canvas links. So the benefit to the training services portal is we push down those updates. And so if there's updates that need to be made, if we change links, videos, then we're updating these courses for you. One thing that I'm hoping for in the future, this is knock on wood, no promises yet, but I'm really hoping for a roadmap item, and I've really been pushing this, that the services portal here could also operate similar to Canvas Commons, and that you could take things that you create as within your instance as an institution, and that you could push it into the training services portal to kind of have your own training hosted within the rest of training. So that way all traffic can kind of go to the same place. And you would also be able to pull some of the data or the reporting that you can through the portal on your own custom training. It's not there yet, but hopefully that's a potential or possibility in the future. So the higher the training levels, you may have some other areas like pathways, for example, comes into play. That's the same pathways that we offer also within your instance as an add-on service. We can also use it for training to kind of create different pathways. That's good for certifications or programs that may be complex for instructors, things like that. So as an administrator, you also would have access to a portal data. So being able to see completions, being able to see who's accessing these courses. So mine, again, is going to be high level. I'm looking at everybody. So I'm not looking at a specific school, but this just gives you an example of the kind of the format of what you're looking at, completion reports, and so on. So that is your training portal. Just remember it's there, it's free. And then, if again, I encourage you, if you haven't explored other options or higher tiers of training to do that. This is a slide on the free training services that are offered. All of these slides I'll provide after the office hours today. They're all linked into the community. So all this information I'm showing, you'll be able to access yourself. Real quickly, the free training, let me click on the free part real quick. This again is learning services. I'll drop this into the chat actually to give you guys access, because this will give you direct access to all of the levels. The free training portal, there's a one pager that does a great job. If you wanted to take the one pager and kind of customize it yourself, you're welcome to do that. This just talks about what training provides. It does give links into how to access the portal again. Also, it steps up to the next level, which is essentials. But down below, the free training is kind of here outlined what that covers. So you're basically getting the global navigation, course navigation, content delivery, grading and feedback, includes grade books, speed grader, rubrics, and then graded content. So it's very, very comprehensive. There's a lot there, and it is pretty helpful just for the free level in the modules that you get. And then essentials. So I just included essentials. You can go up from there, but just kind of talks about more of what's covered. With essentials and above, you'll see that really what that includes are more of those a la carte sessions. And you can kind of pick and choose with essentials and the higher levels of training on what to offer. Even higher levels of training also have live training available so that you can pop in and out, or you can send instructors into different training sessions too. But the essentials, which is the next level up from free, it includes quite a bit. And you're getting more areas. And then in those areas like grading, grade book, you get even more detail on those sessions. So again, if it's been some time, excuse me, if it's been some time since you looked at these services, the cost to add essentials, even for 1 year, is, I think, has some good payout, or has some good return on investment. You don't have to contract it for more than that if you just wanted to do a shorter agreement to look at services for a particular time period. And then you market and you tell everybody, hey, we've got training, make sure you go here. In the long run, that's good for everybody, because that also helps reduce the number of support cases for everybody, for both sides. So a couple other areas I want to point out. The Global Customer Success Hub is another area I think it gets forgotten about. I definitely forget that it's there. It's in the Canvas community. In that Global Customer Success Hub, we produce and feature webinars. And these webinars cover all kinds of different topics. So along the top, you'll see different blog posts here. You'll see we're actually getting ready to add some onboarding information, additional instructor products here, featured hubs. The webinars here along the top, though. We'll see upcoming webinars. Right now, Clatch is super busy with different webinars. I need to actually take a Clatch to learn more about it. But you also see there's other kind of specialty topics like this one. We'll see leveraging Canvas and Catalog to organize professional learning. That's real popular right now with non-credit type courses, asynchronous. If you want to monetize it all, I talk about this a lot the last month on a lot of my calls. If you're looking at a catalog experience to monetize for those non-traditional students that maybe aren't part of your enrollment, but they want to access your content, it happens all the time. Coursera does it. If you're the expert, what they're buying is the name of your school, backing up whatever certification you give them. That's kind of what this starts to touch on is professional learning. So groups, collaborations, that kind of stuff, the redesign for discussions, there's going to be a session on that. Past webinars, there's a ton of stuff there, including new quizzes, has a couple different sessions here that were offered that are really, really good and detailed. Also, we have some kind of oddball outliers that one or a few that are new. One is my webinars. I just feature that in a YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel is here. So that's what I link to. I'm going to continue to fill this up with all the webinars that I record, which are just going to be the release notes and the deploy notes. And then I'm going to start to fill in the office hours here as well. So that's just an on-demand kind of area that you can go and collect that information. Instructure Academy is pretty new. Melissa Lobel, who used to be the Chief Customer Success Officer, she moved into a different position, which is really more strategic for Instructure overall. So she's got a ton of experience working with different institutions. So it created kind of a best practices area, almost high level for higher education, which is going to have some great stuff in it. There's a couple blog posts there. It's really brand new, but you can take a look at that. It's linked also in the slide here as well. This is going to talk a lot about, again, high level strategy. Like the first few here, we see connecting student learning to institutional success. We'll see things about accessibility, asynchronous learning, that kind of stuff, CBE, competency-based education, those high-level themes that we're kind of seeing throughout higher education. Dear Danielle is also really cool too. There's tons of good information. They're all videos. Danielle's one of our customer success managers, and a while back, she was really proactive about creating these content, these recorded video sessions, this content. So I like a podcast, and she goes into a lot of detail about these areas. So you'll see that there's things about gradebook. The new quizzes information is also great as well. Outcomes, that kind of stuff. So I definitely would check her out as well. And then professional learning services themselves, they have a page in the community. They also publish different blog posts. Something that's coming up that also I think is really valuable, that I talk a lot about, is implementing a pilot credentialing program. So I talk about this a lot with in my monthly calls with schools, is that you all have access to badges as well, Canvas badges. That's free. This came from Badger. When we acquired Badger, Badger became Canvas badges as the free component, and then the premium or the pay for service is Canvas credentials. You can use badges and pilot a program, especially if it's an internal program or a smaller program. Badges are controlled at the course level, but to tie all this together to training, and what I've been talking about on my monthly calls with schools, are you can maybe start an internal training program. If you thought about certifications for instructors, just to make them, if you're running them through skill sets and you want them to come out on the other end, knowing that they now have taken these courses and they are certified to whatever you create these courses for, badges can be used and then set for expiration. So the badge might expire. They may have to recert next year or in 2 years. But we talk about, like, some groups like to certify or make sure that their instructors know the guidelines before adding an LTI, so that it doesn't get too crazy and you don't get too many third parties in your instance. There may be some things like that. Some groups have even gone into kind of the HR realm, where maybe there's some courses there. They don't have an LMS system through an HR provided system that has those types of courses. You can host them within Canvas. Some groups use a sub account to do that. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. But this kind of talks about piloting credentialing or piloting badging and using those within your instance. So thinking creatively, it's a way for you to kind of keep tabs or to be able to see what your instructors are doing, or how they're working in Canvas, but then offer professional development. So that can be done, and that grows from there. So if there's interest beyond badging, if the program goes well, people are asking, hey, this is great, I like that I got a badge for this or whatever, or you like how it organizes, then credentials might be something you look at in the future for a larger program, external, also for your end users and within courses. Credentials is managed at the account level, so that everything kind of flows up, where badges is going to be at the course level. And then I also included a couple slides just that tells the difference between badges and credentials. Again, the badges component is free. So some of the bigger elements that are good with badging, if you're starting to look at it, because it's coming up more and more, enrollments across the board are kind of declining in higher ed. So we're looking at different unique creative ways to use non-credit or to kind of increase usage or increase adoption, people coming in to use Canvas or to take courses. So badges is a great way to do that. They can be shared on social media. They can be set with expiration. They can be managed for staff to access. They can be put on public pages. They can have a leaderboard, so you can get kind of what do you call it, gamification involved. And there's a little bit of reporting on badges too that you're able to kind of see through a CSV export. Credentials, of course, that's the premium paid version, so you get a lot more. But there's quite a bit that's available for the badges option. And again, tying it all back into training, there's a lot you can do with that. I put an example in here. I also linked to it. University of Nebraska and many others. This is just an example of a catalog site that also uses badges or credentials, and just the kind of the setup or configuration for professional education and or non-credit courses that can be taken, where they can be purchased individually, or at the end you end up with something, but it's not your traditional degree path. So again, it's just a way to kind of monetize, or a great another way to for engagement outside of your enrollment. So more and more we see this where learners are out there, they're not wanting to enroll into a degree program, but they do need some kind of a certification or something that's got your name on it, the institution's name backing up that they've now earned this or they have this skill set. So we see that more and more is all of our stuff in the back end is starting to integrate more and more. And a lot of it is being driven by these changes that we're seeing in higher ed with asynchronous CBE, badging, credentialing, and then further down the line, Passport. So some of you may have heard about the acquisition we had last year of Parchment. We're going to continue to grow that this year. It's still going to be independent. But the long-term plans for Parchment are the Passport, education passport. So being able to carry that information to that person's resume, to that learner's resume, they can carry it through all of education and then beyond into professional development. So, but that consists of not just your traditional degrees, but also certifications, badges, I think that kind. So that is all that I had for my training portion. So again, if there's questions about training at all, if you're not sure, if you're not sure how to access this, if you don't see your training services portal, let me know. I'm happy to take a look at that, make sure that it's turned on, review any of these sessions. If you're needing any assistance with designing custom training or ideas about what other instances are doing, please feel free to reach out. I have a training background, so I geek out on training services. There's still a trainer in my brain all the time that thinks through curriculum design and adult learning. So I really enjoyed this portion of it. So I'm going to open it up now and let everyone, just for the remaining time, which is about 35 minutes or so, you're welcome to ask questions. You're welcome to chat, type in anything into the chat. Yeah, you bet. Badging, Kim, I'll drop the badging link in.
So I do have a question on that in terms of that's something that I think we've been working with you on looking at the badging, the difference between badging and credentialing. I see that the badge can be shared, but it's still only at the course level.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so the credentialing is really preferred.
For larger programs, yeah. For that internal, kind of what I set my sights on was what can you do without buying anything with things that you already have. And so the training portion of is some schools do offer training now for their instructors. The badges can be turned on for a training course at the course level. You can then track or kind of get, you can have reporting for that course or the training. And then at the end, there's some kind of a certification or badge that's given that they can share, they can post, but they still can't own it completely like they could in credentials. With credentials, the badge kind of goes with you wherever. With Canvas badges, it stays with them, but only through the course. So they can promote it, but it's not the same, or it's not as big as the credential.
Because it stays within the course.
Mm-hmm.
How do they promote it then?
They still have the social media sharing, and there's public pages. I can follow up on a little more info because I'm not as real familiar or in the weeds with some of the details on it. But that's something we can explore too, even with on the badges piece too, on another call, or I can enable it also. Another thing that is fairly easy to do, I've done this for a couple of schools now, is I've enabled it or turned it on within like their test instance, and then they can go in and build a course and kind of see what the limitations are or what it does, and then we can kind of go from there. So,
but badging is already in all of the courses?
No, not until it's turned on. It's available to turn on, very similar to, so when it was Badger over a year and a half ago or whatever, you had to go into the course and turn it on or enable it there. So for badges, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Enable it as an LTI.
So we could try the badging now.
You could.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and the reason why, I mean, most don't implement it on a larger scale is because it's enabled at the course level like an LTI would. It's difficult to manage on a large scale unless all of the instructors or whoever's in charge of those courses, they would all have to kind of be aligned in how they're using badges. So it's a little more difficult if you got many, like a program or many courses that are using badges because it would be unique to each course. The smaller
Right.
programs, yeah, it's not, it's good to use, but
So speaking of things that would be harder to track on a larger scale,
mhm,
in terms of like, and this is kind of a shift in questions, but it's a question answer portion. Um, in terms of that um, larger scale, if we were to put in course outcomes
mhm.
for a particular course, say like English 101,
Mhm.
is there a way for every single English 101 each semester when that course loads that all of the outcomes are listed in there?
Um, yes. So it's kind of tied to a little bit of what some of the enhancements and product work that's happening this year. There's a lot of focus on enhancing outcomes so that it fits better with higher education. Because the difference on higher ed and what outcomes has been before, it's very limited in that you can implement outcomes, but it's difficult to kind of have granular outcomes. Meaning, if you have multiple programs and they're all different, it becomes difficult on one, the reporting end, and then two, to kind of implement that down into different courses. So a lot of the building or the enhancements moving forward have been to make it more versatile and so that you're able to do that. But with that specific question, yes. Now that the walking through that would be, we can, and that's another thing too. Both of these are great questions, and I can follow up to with a little more detail offline, or we can have a separate call. But then walking through on how to configure that and set everything up, we could do that as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Badge or outcomes is getting quite a bit of redesign this year, or enhancements, I should say. It's the same tool. Rubrics is also getting some work, all of it to kind of align more to higher ed. And then the big reasons behind the scenes are really tied to pathways um, for more complex programs, and then credentialing again. That it's just coming up more and more now, where instead of the degree program, which is really managed more outside, or a degree, which is managed more outside of Canvas, then these certifications or these pathways that can be complex, that end up in some type of something else that's not a full degree. Um, you can have those type of programs too that end up with credentials, or that would take learners through more of a complex road to get to the end point. So
So
a lot
what
of
about with outcomes and rubrics, with those getting revamped? In terms of like the analytics pieces of courses, being able to really drill down and say, okay, um, because I see the big picture analytics, which sometimes don't really show much, right? Like 10,000 pages have been viewed this semester. So what? Um, does it give, is there talks about making those analytics really drillable down to the course, to the instructor, to the student, to the demographic?
There is. So there's two different positions, or kind of directions we're looking at. One, yes, there's so a lot of the reporting enhancements this year, which is another big area on the roadmap, is for to provide more data from the course level up to the account level for administrators to be able to see. A lot of that will occur in the admin analytics report, which is new from last year. We'll continue to enhance that. One of the things it'll probably come up at this at InstructureCon this summer, but for the fall is we're introducing a report that'll allow you to identify students that are at risk, and that will be based on not demographics at first, but it'll be based on data that we're collecting in the course level from gradebook and from assignments and from activity. But then the instructor has the ability to kind of pick and choose some of those data points to customize what is a student at risk for them. So where's the line? And if a student dips below that line, then Canvas will proactively or will reach out notification, connect with the instructor on those students. So it'll be an easy way to grab that report. And then from there, the instructor has the ability to kind of communicate through Canvas or to reach out to the student. But the plan is also, and I don't know if this is on the timeline this year, but we've also discussed a lot about additional demographics and ways for at the account level to kind of be able to filter or to look at some of those segments to a little bit more customization. And then that ties into another conversation about artificial intelligence, and then what are our plans to integrate that into Canvas. And so one of the earlier integrations of AI into Canvas is on the reporting end, where it acts as an assistant, where an instructor or an administrator can then ask using common language, I'd like to see a report that includes, or I'd like to see this type of data. And then AI would be able to return that report without having to have the skill set to build a query or custom query or to have to go to Canvas data and APIs and that kind of stuff. So
Nice. So
from yeah.
From a administrator standpoint, then we would be able to pull that information of the students at risk from like all of the courses.
Correct. Yep. You'd have a top level report, and then underneath that, the instructor would also still have their course level report where they would be able to track their own students and kind of see, or at least get like an early warning system on students that start dipping below. But yes, both levels.
Nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's all again tied to the bigger conversation, and what we're seeing in higher ed with the challenges with enrollment and decrease in enrollments kind of across the board, is how do we keep students engaged, and then if you start to see a student that is that you're losing based on engagement, and that you're able to kind of engage them earlier or kind of pull them back in. So the better we can get reporting so that you guys can track that, the better chances we have of keeping them. So yep, keep what we have. So that's kind of all that's in the works. Bigger roadmap items. It's all exciting, and we'll talk about it in InstructureCon. The timeline's always longer than you want it to be, so it does take time. But AI, I mean, there's no slowing down AI, so you'll definitely see things rolling out this year for artificial intelligence and how we'll begin to introduce it. And then the reporting front is a big one too. So, but all the adjustments again are being made because of those trends that we're seeing in higher ed. And so the tools that we're kind of enhancing still work well for Canvas and still benefit Canvas users and the traditional use for it, but it also starts to help with supporting competency-based education and asynchronous learning and non-credit type courses and certifications and that kind of thing, and tracking and all of that. So some great questions. Just curious for the group too, and you're welcome. No one has to share, but just curious if anyone's doing any type of internal training now for instructors, faculty, or if they do any type of administrator training. Or some do, some don't. It varies across the board, really, and it varies depending on the time. Most instances, if it's been some time since you kind of implemented, most of maybe the users in Canvas, especially faculty, are probably familiar with Canvas. We'll talk about and training. I started with training because next month the theme for me that I'll talk about is assessments and quizzes, and starting to evaluate new quizzes. And there'll be some pain points there because I know there's a lot of PTSD from over the years, and I have it too. But that'll be a pretty big transition over time. There's no sunset for Classic, but that's going to involve training. So how is that training offered? Are we just directing people out to the community and saying, hey, go find the information here and learn it? Or there are some resources. There is a new quizzes module that's in the training services portal. That's really good. It's a really comprehensive. We'll lead with that, but there'll be additional resources that we'll also use. But then how does that get presented back into to your end users and to faculty? So
So
and
we
again,
we do offer training on an ongoing basis. John Vilcaro, who is the um, bald eagle image, is quiet on here, but he does a phenomenal job of keeping our faculty up to date at like development days and that sort of thing. And then we offer things on an ongoing basis. In fact, I'm working to finalize a list of what we'll be offering the week after finals in kind of an intensive format for people.
fantastic. That's awesome. Yep, that's pretty. That's also good. There's lots of schools that do that well too. So it's always good to get feedback and look at how it's being offered and incorporate that into some of the changes that we make. So well, those are my topics today. So I'll just kind of hang out, and you guys are welcome to hang out. But if I've answered questions or um, if you guys have had enough of me, I won't keep you. So, and again, I've recorded. This is recorded. I'll share the. I'll just post it, I think, or share an email that'll link to it, and then within the uh, slide deck that I'll put into the email, those will have all the links in it to the out to the community where all those resources can be found. So,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys. I appreciate the time and the attention today. Hopefully this is helpful. I'll continue again with the themes and office hours and make it available. And I'll be on for the hour. So if anybody pops in or out, happy to answer questions. But thanks, guys.
Oh, sorry. I had a question.
Yeah. Hey, Madeline.
Hi, nice to meet you, Jonathan. I'm the new instructional designer at Kaskaskia College. And I haven't used Canvas before. I come from a school that used Brightspace. So what would you say is the best place to start learning about Canvas navigation and stuff?
Yeah. I would use the portal. And I haven't looked at your guys' instance, or at least I have, but I can't remember now if I looked at if the portal's active. It should be in your
Okay.
help navigation. Let me resume my sharing here. So it should be when you log into Canvas, you should have a link for training services portal.
Oh, perfect.
And then once you're in there, there's should be an overview on Canvas. And I would this is good for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's just good training for somebody who's new to Canvas, but also it'll allow you to kind of see how it's being offered through your instance to your faculty, instructors, and learners or end users. But I believe there's an opening Canvas, which is a 20-minute module. This is all part of the free tier, so you guys will have these. There's a training services portal walkthrough that also I think would be good. And I believe, depending on your product set, you might see a couple others here too that I think are good sessions to take. There's also, let's see. Pull up your nope. Within your instance, I'll check this too, and if I'm off base, then I'll follow up too. But everyone, when they first are onboarded into Canvas as a school, or you have a brand new instance, there's a course that's given to you to use for training. It could be, there's a couple different names for it. There's Welcome to Canvas, or there's Growing with Canvas.
Okay.
And those will those will have some. No, I think maybe it's growing with Canvas. I don't know, maybe if I don't have it, maybe I may have taken it out. My demo instance is up to date. Yeah, so there's a couple different sessions. Growing with Canvas might be called that. Um, these are built to during implementation when you're bringing everyone new on board or learning about Canvas. That's what these were built for. The only downside is depending on how old or how long you guys have been Canvas users, this will become outdated. So, but most of the content is still relevant and it still works. But this is a great course also to kind of take, and it'll walk you through building walking you through a Canvas course and how it's built and the areas. So this is another good one. And
Nice.
then also, and again, I'll follow up once I pull your instance up. Do you guys Commons users? Does that sound familiar?
I recognize the term, but I'm not sure if we are. I think so.
Yeah, actually,
I can check too.
I got time. I don't know. I'll just pull it up real quick.
Oh yeah, we are. We
Okay.
have the tab, I see.
Yeah, perfect. Commons is another great resource. If you're also pulling in content from other instances or other schools that are sharing. I also I would go into Commons every once in a while and I would do Canvas training. And some schools have built out their own training courses and they share them to Commons. And Commons is free to pull, so you can download it or you can pull it into your instance, and then you have control over it. And then from there, you can customize it. You can change the content because it's unique. And then some of these are just really good training courses, and these will give you different ideas of maybe what some other schools have put together and packaged for training for their own users. So these are all labeled, and you can filter these out. So once you're in Commons, you can filter by if I'm just looking for courses, if I want to look at modules, specific modules that have to do with training somebody in Canvas, you can filter out for those. You can also filter out for higher education. So if we just wanted to focus on undergraduate or graduate type courses, which Canvas, we're just filtering out the K-12. We can do that. And then all of these are going to kind of apply. So, and again, a lot of these have just good examples, maybe not the whole course, but there might be some components in there where you're like, well, I really like how they put together this assessment. And then you can pull the quiz and put it into your own instance.
Nice.
So those are great places from within your instance. And then the other areas that I would check out would be within the community. And the community is not an official, like I go here to train. Anything about training in the instructor community is going to be geared towards if you were an administrator and you are going to be implementing it to your instance. But I would use the community for, this is where you're going to find all your guides. So if you're into more of the technical piece of just wanting step-by-step, then in the community underneath the products area, and then the Canvas LMS is going to be all of our technical guides. So that's going to be another area. It's not real formal training. It really is on your own. But some people prefer that with kind of the more step-by-step. And then from here, we read the guides. You can also choose kind of your level. So if we want to look at it from maybe an instructional design level, or if we want to look at it from an administrative standpoint, administer. Now we're here on this launch page. We have videos built out, the guides themselves. If you go into the guides, and it's all broken out here.
Very cool.
So just gave you everything. And then from there, there's also other groups. And I think one of the high level groups that's good for training would be this global customer success group. And then global customer success, we also have different newsletters. There's webinars that have been created. And the webinars are usually topical. So they may take an area of Canvas and they'll go into a lot more detail and kind of break out, for this one that's upcoming, they're going to go through groups, collaborations, and they're going to talk about the discussions and especially the redesign of discussions. But they're going to go into more of a technical deep dive into those areas, which for me, this is training. I mean, this is good information. That's more of a training format. So
yeah, for sure.
So that's another good area that I would hit as well, in addition to all those other sessions. I'll drop that one in the chat. And then it's whatever else you find in the community. So there is a couple other locations. Some of these are strategic, like learning services is really going to be more about kind of promoting or learning services for everybody else. So that may not be the best place for training, but some of these other areas will be good too, just depending on what you're interested in. So
Hey, Jonathan, I got a quick question. When I go into my Canvas and go to help and I go to do the training portal, services portal, it's almost seems like ours is just what we uploaded in there, and I'm
Okay.
not seeing anything on what you were showing.
let me pull it up real quick. So when you get into, and this is the Downers Grove instance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're in your instance and then in the help navigation, the links aren't showing for the.
No, because all I get is like what we published or we did a long while ago, just 3 courses.
Mhm.
But I don't see anything else.
So the portal link's not live on your display.
No.
Huh. Okay.
It
Right.
says access Canvas training videos and courses, and every time I click on it, it just goes back to these 3 published things that I did like a couple of years ago.
Huh. Okay. I might need to follow up on that one too. And email you
Okay.
or reach out, because that's I'll have to look at your configuration and your permissions. That's weird. I don't know. That's a weird one. I haven't run into that yet. Might be opening a ticket for that one. Oh, and it's midwestern.instructure.com is the Downers Grove.
Should be, yeah.
Okay. Huh.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a note
and I'll follow up, because
Thank you.
that's weird. Wow.
Come from Canvas training.
Yeah.
That's fine, Jonathan. Let me know.
That one's a weird one.
I'd have to jump out because I got another meeting to get into. So I apologize.
I'll take a look at permissions and I'll follow up with you.
All right.
That's a weird
Thank you,
one.
sir.
Yep, you bet. Thanks for attending.
Yep. No, thank you.
Then there were 2.
I think that answers my questions for now, but thank you very much, Jonathan.
Yeah, you bet. I thought I had your instance pulled up, but I'll take a look. If anything else comes up too when it comes to the training stuff, just let me know, and I'm happy. I can happy to
Yeah.
talk additional links, but that should get you going.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you very much. Take care.
You bet. Nice meeting you. Yeah.
Nice meeting you too. Bye.